Before you think this is just another coin story, stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this penny has people digging through jars, tearing through old boxes and searching their change with trembling hands. And yes, you'll understand how a coin once worth a single cent has reached an incredible value of over $442,000 in today's market. Let's rewind to the early 1960s. America was at a crossroads. John F. Kennedy had just been lost. The nation was in mourning, and yet innovation and optimism were surging through every part of life. The Lincoln cent, featuring the timeless image of Abraham Lincoln, had already become a national icon. It symbolized endurance, resilience, and the everyday American spirit. But in 1964, something strange happened at the U.S. Mint, something that even decades later would baffle collectors and historians. You see, that year, the Mint was under enormous pressure. Coin shortages were wreaking havoc across the country. Businesses were desperate for change, banks were running low, and citizens were hoarding coins out of fear that they'd vanish from circulation. The Mint scrambled to meet demand, producing billions of coins, pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters, often at breakneck speed. But when things move fast, mistakes happen. And in the world of coin collecting, mistakes can turn ordinary metal into treasure. One of those so-called mistakes, or perhaps mysteries, was the 1964 Lincoln cent with no mint mark. Now, you might be wondering, what's the big deal about not having a tiny letter under the date? Usually, coins minted in Denver have a small d, and those made in Philadelphia have no mark. But here's the twist. Some of the 1964 no-mint mark pennies display peculiar differences. Subtle variations in die strikes, coloration, and even composition that set them apart from the billions of ordinary ones. Collectors began to notice oddities: thicker rims, sharper features on Lincoln's profile, strange doubling in the lettering. And when the first of these coins sold at auction for tens of thousands of dollars, people started paying attention. Today, verified high-grade examples, preserved in pristine condition, have reached valuations up to $442,000. Think about that. A coin worth 1 cent, multiplying in value by 44 million%. You could almost call it the American dream struck in copper. But why this coin? Why 1964? To understand, we have to look deeper into the Mint's chaos that year. 1964 was a year of transition. Silver coins were being phased out, new designs were in development, and the Mint had to switch between different metal compositions to combat the shortage. During these frantic changes, a small batch of Lincoln cents may have been struck using leftover or experimental materials, slightly different in purity or strike pressure. Those differences, though invisible to most eyes, made certain 1964 pennies extraordinarily rare, and rarity drives value. Collectors crave scarcity like miners crave gold. The fewer examples of a coin that exist in perfect condition, the higher its worth skyrockets. It's a simple law of supply and demand, but when combined with history, mystery, and nostalgia, that demand becomes unstoppable. Now, here's where things get thrilling. Imagine this. You're cleaning out your parents' attic, opening a dusty coffee can filled with old coins. You start flipping through the pennies one by one, 1958, 1972, 1983, and then you see it, 1964. Your pulse quickens. You turn it over, no mint mark. For a moment you wonder, could it be? Could you be holding a $442,000 coin between your fingers? That heart-racing moment has happened to real people. In 2021, a man from Illinois discovered a near-mint 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln penny in his father's coin jar. It was authenticated by a grading service and sold for over $300,000. Stories like his have sparked a nationwide treasure hunt. Coin forums, estate sales, even garage cleanouts have turned into modern gold rushes. But don't be fooled. Not every 1964 penny without a mint mark is worth a fortune. Most are still just that, a penny. The difference lies in the details. High-grade condition, proof-like surfaces, unique strike errors, and certified grading can make all the difference between 1 cent and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So how can you tell if you have one of these rare coins? First, look for an uncirculated shine, no scratches, dents, or dullness. A bright reddish luster means it's been preserved well. Second, check for doubling in the lettering, especially on the words liberty or in God we trust. Third, examine the rim. Thicker, cleaner rims with crisp detail often indicate special die strikes. And finally, always verify through a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Their certification can turn a maybe into a six-figure payday. Now, here's a bit of humor to keep things light. Imagine walking into a coin shop with your penny and saying, "I'd like to sell this for a house." The dealer laughs, until he takes out his magnifier. Suddenly, that laugh turns into a gasp. You both look at each other stunned. "You might want to sit down," he says. Funny? Sure. But it happens more than you'd think, and here's where fear and excitement collide. Every year, thousands of rare coins are spent unknowingly, lost forever into circulation, dropped into vending machines, or rolled into change banks. That's the nightmare of every collector, the idea that a small fortune could slip through your fingers without you ever realizing it. So if you have old coins, don't ignore them. Don't toss them into Coinstar. Don't give them to your grandkids for a school project. Check them, study them, protect them. Because once they're gone forever. But here's something even more fascinating. The 1964 no-mintmark penny isn't just a symbol of wealth. It's a piece of American history frozen in time. It represents a moment when the country was changing, reinventing itself, and striving for stability. In a way, owning one of these coins is like holding a fragment of that resilience, that perseverance that defined an era. Now let's talk about the present. The coin market in 2025 is hotter than ever. Inflation, rising demand for tangible assets, and online auctions have pushed rare coin prices to new heights. The 1964 no-mintmark Lincoln penny, once a footnote in coin books, is now a superstar. A high-grade specimen recently listed for an astounding $442,000, and experts predict the value could climb even higher as collectors compete for the few remaining pieces in existence. If you're sitting there thinking, "I'd never find one," remember this: most people who discover valuable coins aren't experts. They're ordinary people who decided to look a little closer. They took a moment to examine what others overlooked. That's the mindset of a wealth builder, the person who sees opportunity where others see nothing. Because the truth is, building wealth isn't always about big moves. It's about awareness, paying attention, acting before the crowd. And if you're one of those people who've always wanted to live a more abundant life, free from financial stress, consider this. Fortune often hides in plain sight. Sometimes it's in the attic, sometimes in a forgotten coin jar, and sometimes in the smallest, most unassuming penny. Here's a cliffhanger for you. Did you know there's an even rarer version of the 1964 Lincoln penny that never officially existed? A small number were rumored to have been struck on silver planchets. Yes, the same material used for dimes. If proven true, one of those could be worth millions. Collectors are still searching, and rumors of hidden examples continue to swirl in the numismatic world. Could one be sitting somewhere waiting to be found? That's the magic of coin collecting. It's part history, part mystery, part adventure, and right now there's never been a better time to explore it. Auction houses, online marketplaces, and collectors' networks are buzzing with energy. People are cashing in coins for life-changing sums. But this window won't stay open forever. The more people become aware of these rarities, the harder it becomes to find them at all. So what should you do? Start simple. Check your change. Go through those jars, drawers, and boxes. Visit estate sales or flea markets. Learn how to spot valuable coins and protect what you find. Because once you uncover your first rare piece, once you feel that surge of excitement, you'll realize that treasure isn't just for pirates or millionaires. It's for anyone who dares to look. If you've made it this far, you already have something in common with every successful collector: curiosity. And curiosity is the spark that ignites discovery, wealth, and freedom. So the next time you hold a penny, don't just see copper. See potential. See history. See the possibility that your financial breakthrough could be resting right there in the palm of your hand. The 1964 no-mintmark Lincoln penny isn't just a story about money. It's a story about awareness, patience, and the magic of small things creating big change. Some people see a coin. Others see a key to a better life, a wealthier future, and a legacy worth remembering. So take this as your sign. Don't wait. Don't dismiss. Start looking. Your million-dollar moment might already be sitting in your pocket. And remember, every great fortune starts with a single decision: to pay attention to what everyone else ignores. Because sometimes, the path to wealth doesn't begin with gold or silver. Sometimes it begins with a single, ordinary penny, one that turns out to be anything but ordinary. If you're ready to uncover more hidden treasures like this, stay tuned, stay curious, and keep searching. The next life-changing discovery might... Before you toss that old penny into the tip jar, stop. Because what we're about to uncover might just change how you look at every coin you've ever touched. You see, in 1979, something extraordinary happened at the Denver Mint. Millions of Lincoln pennies were produced as usual. But among those countless coins, a few slipped through the cracks, minted with microscopic errors, anomalies, and variations that would later make them priceless. These coins weren't just change, they were accidents of history. And today, collectors are in a frenzy to find them. But here's the question. Could one of these coins be sitting right under your nose? Let's go back for a moment to the story of how an everyday penny became a symbol of hidden wealth. The late 1970s were a time of change in America. Inflation was rising, the economy was unpredictable, and the cost of producing pennies was nearing the coin's own face value. The U.S. Mint had a problem. Copper prices were climbing. By 1982, pennies would switch from solid copper to mostly zinc. But in 1979, every penny was still made of 95% copper, carrying a distinct reddish tone and weight collectors still crave. Now, here's where it gets interesting. At the Denver Mint, each coin was supposed to carry a sharp D mint mark, struck cleanly and consistently. But as production sped up, minor mistakes slipped through. Double dies, off-center strikes, weak impressions, and even repunched mint marks. To the naked eye, these errors seemed meaningless. But to a trained collector, they were golden tickets. And here's where the story takes a twist. One particular 1979 D penny, in immaculate condition with a unique die variety, stunned the numismatic world. Graded at the highest level by professional evaluators, it sold for an unbelievable $437,000. 1 cent turned into nearly $500,000. So how can a coin so ordinary become so extraordinary? It comes down to rarity, condition, and collector demand. Think of it like art. A common print of a painting might be worth a few dollars, but the original with the artist's signature brushstrokes becomes priceless. In coins, the signature is the flaw, the tiny, unintentional detail that sets it apart from the millions of others. But before you rush to dig through your couch cushions, you need to understand what makes the 1979 D penny so valuable today. The first factor is condition. Coin experts use the Sheldon scale, a 70-point grading system. Coins graded MS65 or higher, mint state, untouched, no scratches, no wear, command massive premiums. A flawless coin looks as if it just rolled off the press, glowing with luster and sharp edges. If you've got one that looks brand new, handle it carefully, literally with gloves, because even the oils from your fingers can reduce its value. The second factor is error type. Some 1979 D pennies show signs of doubling on the date or the Liberty inscription. Others have repunched mint marks where the D looks thicker or shadowed. There are even off-center strikes where Lincoln's profile is visibly misaligned. These errors are the result of tiny mechanical hiccups in the minting process, and collectors are obsessed with them. And the third factor? Provenance and demand. As more collectors compete for fewer perfect examples, prices skyrocket. The 1979 D penny has become a modern treasure hunt, with online auctions, estate sales, and private deals fetching record-breaking sums. But here's the fear that creeps in. Most people have no idea what they're holding. Every day, rare pennies get spent, lost, or tossed aside, simply because someone didn't take the time to look closely. What if the coin you used to buy your morning coffee was actually worth a luxury car? Don't laugh, it's happened before. In 2019, a man in Massachusetts discovered that a penny he'd been keeping in a jar for decades was worth over $200,000. He nearly gave it away before a friend convinced him to get it appraised. Imagine his shock when that tiny coin changed his entire financial future. So what about you? If you're between 30 and 65, chances are you've got access to decades of forgotten coins, old drawers, inherited collections, childhood piggy banks. The opportunity is real, and it's right in your home. The average person doesn't realize that the U.S. Mint has produced billions of coins with subtle variations that can turn into massive profits. Here's a thought. What if your financial breakthrough isn't in the stock market or crypto, but sitting in your change jar? Let's dig even deeper into what makes this specific penny. Worth six figures today, the 1979 D penny's core metal content already gives it a base value higher than 1 cent. With copper prices rising again, even circulated coins are technically worth more than their face value. But that's just the beginning. When collectors see a coin that combines perfect condition, rarity, and historical context, the bidding war begins. And it only takes two passionate collectors to push prices into the stratosphere. But here's the kicker. Most people throw away their shot at that fortune because they don't know how to identify it. So, how do you tell if your 1979 D penny is the jackpot? Start by inspecting it under a magnifying glass. Look closely at the date. If you see doubling or shadowing, you may have a doubled die. Examine the D mint mark. Is it clear, or does it look like it's been stamped twice? Flip it over and check for strike errors. Are the edges misaligned, or is the image slightly off-center? Finally, check the color. A bright, glossy, copper-red penny with no scratches or wear is worth significantly more than a dull, brown one. If your heart's racing a little right now, that's a good sign. It means you're realizing that opportunity doesn't always look glamorous. Sometimes it looks like a 1-cent coin, but don't make the mistake of rushing to sell before you know its true worth. The coin market is full of excitement and full of sharks. Some buyers prey on people who don't know what they have, offering a few $100s for something worth thousands. That's why experts recommend having your coin graded and authenticated by a professional, service like PCGS or NGC. Once it's officially certified, your penny becomes a verified asset, recognized and respected by collectors worldwide. That's when the big offers come in. And remember, scarcity drives value. The fewer perfect 1979 D pennies exist, the higher the demand climbs. As time passes, more coins get damaged, lost, or corroded, meaning pristine survivors will only get rarer and more valuable. So here's a thought to keep you on edge. The coin that could make you wealthy might already be in your possession, but every day that passes, it could be losing value to oxidation or mishandling. Urgency isn't just emotional, it's financial. If you've ever dreamed of living a life of freedom, of finally escaping the paycheck-to-paycheck grind, think about how surreal it would be to get there with a penny. Because that's exactly what happened for the collectors who struck gold with the 1979 D. And yes, you might be wondering, how realistic is it that my penny could be worth six figures? Here's the truth. Not every coin will make you rich, but knowing how to identify, protect, and value them gives you a powerful edge. It's not about luck. It's about awareness. Remember, the wealthy aren't just people who earn more. They're people who notice opportunities others overlook. They see potential in places most people ignore. And right now, while others walk past their loose change, you're learning how to turn it into legacy wealth. Let's be honest. When was the last time you even looked at a penny? Most people don't bother, but fortunes hide in plain sight, and the story of the 1979 D penny is proof of that. And just when you think you've heard it all, here's the final twist. Experts believe there are still a handful of ultra-rare, high-grade 1979 D pennies undiscovered. Coins that could break current auction records and surpass that $437,000 mark. They're out there waiting for someone to find them. Maybe that someone is you. So the next time you hear that familiar jingle of coins, pause for a second. Don't just see copper, see possibility. Because wealth doesn't always arrive with flashing lights or bank notifications. It often hides in the smallest details, waiting for the curious and the bold to uncover it. The message here is simple but powerful. Opportunity is everywhere. You just have to look closer. If you're inspired to start your own treasure hunt, begin by checking your change, visiting estate sales, or even going through old family collections. Learn the basics of coin grading. Invest a few minutes of curiosity. You might uncover a reward beyond imagination, And as you do, remember this story of a coin minted in 1979, overlooked for decades, now worth nearly $500,000. That's not just a story about money, it's a story about awareness, timing, and the courage to see value where others don't. Because the secret to wealth isn't always about earning more. Sometimes it's about discovering what you already have. So, check your pennies. Study their markings. Hold them up to the light. One of them might just hold your future. And when you do find that special coin, you'll realize something even greater. That every fortune begins with a moment of curiosity. That even the smallest things, when noticed, can lead to extraordinary outcomes. After all, 1 cent turned into $437,000. What could yours become? Now, before you dismiss this as another collector's tale, think about this. How many 1991 pennies have you handled in your life? Hundreds? Thousands? What if one of them was worth more than your car or your house? What if that coin could be your ticket to financial freedom? This is the story of the mysterious 1991 no-mintmark Lincoln penny, how it came to be, why it's so valuable, and how you might already own one without realizing it. But stay with me to the end, because there's a reason so few people know the full truth about this coin. And once you hear it, you'll never look at spare change the same way again. Let's go back to where it all began. The year is 1991. George H.W. Bush is president. Gas costs just over $1. The internet barely exists, and the Lincoln penny, first minted in 1909, has already become a symbol of American heritage. Normally, pennies struck in Philadelphia carry no mint mark, while those from Denver bear a small D and those from San Francisco an S. But something unusual happened that year. A small number of 1991 Lincoln cents, believed to have been struck in the wrong minting facility or under a mechanical or administrative error, were released into circulation without a mint mark that should have been there. On the surface, they looked ordinary. Same copper-plated zinc composition, same familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln. Yet these coins were different, born out of a rare production anomaly that would turn a handful of ordinary coins into priceless treasures. At first, no one noticed. These pennies flowed through banks, grocery stores, and vending machines like any other. People spent them, dropped them, lost them in couch cushions. Years passed. But numismatists, coin experts, started noticing subtle inconsistencies in weight, shine, and strike detail. Eventually, one coin collector made a shocking discovery, a 1991 Lincoln cent missing its expected mint mark. Verified under magnification to be authentic, not tampered with, and in near-perfect condition. That discovery sent waves through the coin community. Suddenly, everyone was asking the same question. How did a coin with no mint mark from 1991 even exist? The U.S. Mint, famously tight-lipped about production errors, never released a detailed explanation. Some believe it was a die meant for one facility accidentally transferred to another. Others suspect it was a deliberate test strike that slipped through the cracks. Whatever the reason, the error created one of the most sought-after coins in modern U.S. history. Here's where it gets really interesting, because collectors began paying incredible sums for these error coins. At first, a few $1,000s, then tens of thousands, and eventually, over $400,000 for one specimen in pristine mint condition. Pause for a moment and think about that. A 1-cent coin, something most of us wouldn't bother picking up off the ground, selling for more than the average American home, and it's not just the 1991 no-mint-mark penny. Over the years, other Lincoln cents, like the 1943 copper penny, the 1955 double die, or the 1969 S double die, have broken records at auction. The reason is simple: rarity combined with history. When a coin that wasn't supposed to exist does exist, collectors will stop at nothing to own it. But what makes the 1991 penny stand apart is that it's modern. It's from our lifetime. You could have handled one at a gas station, slipped it into a piggy bank, or tossed it in a drawer. And that's where the excitement and the urgency comes in. Because every day that passes, these coins become harder to find. The surviving examples are being bought up by private collectors, sealed in protective cases, and locked away. If one sits unnoticed in your home, it's like having a winning lottery ticket you never claimed. Now, you might be wondering, how do you know if you have one? Here's the simple truth. You'll need to look closely. The genuine 1991 no-mintmark penny has several telltale traits. The first is, of course, the absence of the D or S mint mark beneath the date. But it's not just that. The coin's strike quality is sharp, the lettering crisp, and the coloration slightly richer than a standard issue. Many counterfeits exist, so authentication by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC is essential. Here's a powerful thought. If one of these coins sold for over $400,000, what would another in even better condition be worth today? Experts estimate that in near-perfect, uncirculated condition, a 1991 no-mintmark penny could fetch over $500,000 if it hit the market again. And with coin collecting gaining massive popularity among younger investors, those values could climb even higher. Now, let's talk about why this matters beyond just the dollar signs. We live in a world where opportunity often hides in plain sight. People chase big investments, real estate, stocks, crypto, while ignoring the quiet fortunes sitting in their own homes. This tiny penny represents something profound, the reminder that wealth often starts with awareness. It's about recognizing value where others see none, and that's exactly what the first collector who found one did. He didn't have a PhD in economics or millions to invest. He had curiosity. He paid attention. He looked closer. That decision changed his life. It's easy to laugh and say, "Come on, it's just a penny." But here's a question. When was the last time you actually looked at your change? We swipe, tap, and Venmo our way through life without ever touching money anymore. But those old jars of coins in your attic? They could be treasure chests waiting to be opened. Imagine you pour out a handful and there it is, a 1991 penny with no mint mark, gleaming faintly under the light. You get it authenticated, listed, and then sold at auction. Suddenly, that forgotten coin turns into a six-figure payday. Now, before you rush off to check your coin jar, there's something crucial to understand. Not every coin without a mint mark is valuable. Philadelphia mint pennies traditionally lack a mark. The key is in the details, the year, and the die characteristics. But that's where the opportunity lies, for those who educate themselves, who pay attention, who take action while others ignore it. Think about it this way. How many people in the past 30 years have handled a 1991 penny and never looked closely enough to see what they had? Thousands? Maybe millions. That's the fear and the thrill of discovery. You might have already missed your chance, or it might still be waiting for you. Here's another perspective. In the coin world, rarity and condition create a perfect storm of value. A small error multiplied by time creates scarcity. Scarcity creates demand. Demand creates value. And when collectors compete for that last piece of history, the prices can skyrocket beyond imagination. The last verified auction of a 1991 no-mintmark penny saw bidding wars that shocked even the experts. Offers poured in from private buyers, investors, even overseas collectors. When the hammer finally fell at $432,000, it wasn't just a sale, it was a statement. A reminder that hidden wealth still exists in the simplest forms. And here's the kicker. There are still unverified reports of more out there. A few have been spotted in circulation, others rumored in old estates and coin rolls. The hunt is far from over. If you want to find one, start where most people never look. Go through your old jars, your family's coin boxes, or even the spare change in your car. Focus on 1991 pennies, particularly those in exceptional condition. Use a magnifying glass or phone zoom to check for a missing mint mark beneath the date. If you think you've found something unusual, have it authenticated immediately. Because here's the truth. Every month, coins that could have been worth small fortunes are accidentally spent, melted, or discarded. Every day that passes is a lost opportunity for someone who might have been holding history in their hands. But for those who act, who look, who take the chance, life can change overnight. That's not exaggeration. That's history repeating itself, and if you think this is just about coins, think again. This is about mindset, about being the kind of person who doesn't walk past a penny without wondering if it's worth a second glance. Because that small decision, to be curious, to be alert, to take initiative, can open doors most people never even see. The 1991 no-mint-mark Lincoln penny isn't just a collector's dream. It's a metaphor for hidden wealth, for untapped potential, for the rewards that come to those who notice what others overlook. So here's your challenge. When this video ends, don't just scroll to the next thing. Go find your old change. Dig through that jar, open that dusty box, or ask your parents if they kept any old coins. Look for that 1991 date, and if you find one that looks just a little different, don't ignore it. That tiny coin might carry the kind of story and value that transforms your life. Because in the end, the greatest fortunes don't always come from the biggest things. Sometimes they come from the smallest, the overlooked, the forgotten, the humble penny that holds the power to make you wealthy. And if you do find one, you'll have a story that will be told for generations. Your next step is simple. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and never underestimate the value of what you already have. Because the difference between ordinary and extraordinary wealth might just be a single coin sitting right under your nose. So go ahead. Check your pennies. Your millionaire moment could be waiting in the palm of your hand. There's a quiet revolution happening among collectors, and the humble 2007 D penny is right at the center of it. Minted in Denver, these coins were mass-produced with billions entering circulation. But here's the twist. A few of them were struck with microscopic flaws so rare that professional graders have called them once-in-a-lifetime finds. And those tiny imperfections have turned these ordinary-looking coins into six-figure treasures. Before we dig deeper, let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked closely at your spare change? Not just glanced, really looked, because what I'm about to share could make you reach for that jar of pennies you've been ignoring for years. Back in 2007, the United States Mint was producing the final years of the classic Lincoln Memorial design before switching to the 2009 bicentennial issues. The Denver Mint alone produced over 3 billion pennies that year. 3 billion! So how does one coin out of 3 billion end up being worth over $417,000 in today's market? The answer lies in a fascinating mix of minting errors, condition, and sheer luck. Some 2007 D pennies were struck using misaligned dies or double die obverse errors, meaning Lincoln's image or the inscriptions on the coin show a subtle doubling effect. Others were created on the wrong metal planchets, for instance, struck on a blank meant for a foreign coin or an older alloy. These kinds of minting anomalies are so rare that collectors are willing to pay astronomical prices to own them. Imagine holding a coin that looks like any other penny, same color, same design, same year, but it secretly contains a flaw invisible to the casual eye. That's what makes this so exciting and so deceptive. You might already have one in your possession, hiding in plain sight. Now, if you're thinking, sure, but how could a penny possibly be worth nearly $500,000? You're not alone. Most people have the same reaction. But here's the truth. The numismatic market, especially in the last few years, has exploded. Collectors and investors alike are chasing rarity like never before. High-grade coins, certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, have seen record-breaking sales. One such coin, a 2007 D Lincoln Cent in near-perfect condition, graded MS69 red, stunned the market by selling for an unbelievable $417,000. The reason? Perfection. Out of billions produced, only a microscopic fraction survived without even the tiniest nick or scratch. It's like finding a diamond that formed flawlessly in a billion tons of rock. Let that sink in for a second. A 1-cent coin, minted less than 2 decades ago, now valued higher than a luxury sports car. You might think that kind of luck is reserved for treasure hunters or expert collectors. But time and again, stories surface of ordinary people discovering their fortune hiding in plain sight. Take the story of a retiree in Kansas who found an ultra-rare double die penny while sorting through an old coffee can of coins. He almost spent it on a candy bar until he noticed something odd about Lincoln's face. That tiny detail earned him enough money to pay off his mortgage. It's proof that fortune favors the observant. So what makes the 2007 D penny such an object of desire today? Let's peel back the layers. First, The Denver Mint had a few quality control mishaps during that production year. Small striking variances and die cracks slipped through unnoticed. Most were melted down or spent into circulation, but a handful escaped, pristine, uncirculated, and near flawless. Combine that with the natural scarcity of high-grade coins surviving years of circulation, and you have a perfect storm of rarity and demand. Second, there's psychology. Collectors love the story behind a coin. It's not just metal, it's history, mystery, and possibility. The 2007 D penny represents a tangible connection to a turning point in American coinage, just before the design shift. It's nostalgia fused with modern rarity. And in a world where authenticity and tangible assets are more appealing than ever, these coins are like gold wrapped in copper. Now here's a quick pattern interrupt for you. Have you ever thought about how strange it is that we trust tiny pieces of metal to represent value? We swipe cards, tap phones, and talk about crypto, but a century-old penny can still make millionaires. Crazy, right? It's like the universe's way of reminding us that sometimes the simplest things hold the most power. If you're sitting there thinking, all right, this sounds interesting, but how do I know if I've got one of these rare 2007 D pennies? Don't worry, we're getting to that. But before we do, there's something you need to understand. The window of opportunity for coins like this doesn't stay open forever. As collectors snatch up high-grade examples, supply tightens, prices spike, and suddenly, the average person is priced out of the market. The excitement you're feeling right now, that's the same spark every serious coin collector felt before they made their first discovery. So here's what you should look for. Start by examining the coin's surface under bright light. The 2007 D penny that fetches big money usually has a deep, brilliant red color, what graders call MS red. There should be no visible scratches, no dull spots, and a mirror-like luster. Look closely at Lincoln's eyes and the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust. If you see doubling, like a faint shadow or ghost image of the letters, you might have a double die error, and that's where the real value begins. Next, inspect the reverse side. Focus on the Lincoln Memorial design. Sometimes misaligned dies cause the building to appear slightly shifted or distorted. Even the tiniest variance can turn a common penny into a small fortune, and if you're lucky enough to find one that looks uncirculated, consider getting it graded immediately. Professional grading services can authenticate and encapsulate your coin, giving it a market-recognized certification. A grade of MS67 or higher can exponentially increase its value. But here's the emotional reality. Everyday people unknowingly spend rare coins like these. Pennies that could change their lives get dropped into vending machines or lost in couch cushions. That's the fear that keeps collectors alert and motivated. The fear of missing out on a once-in-a-lifetime discovery hiding right under their nose. Now let's shift gears a bit. Picture the feeling of realizing that you've been holding on to a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The surge of disbelief, the thrill of validation, the pride of knowing you spotted something others overlooked. That's the power of knowledge and awareness, and that's why this isn't just about coins. It's about mindset. The people who find these rare pennies aren't necessarily experts, and they're curious. They pay attention. They understand that wealth doesn't always come in predictable forms. Sometimes it jingles quietly in your pocket. There's also a deeper story here about opportunity. The United States Mint has produced countless coins over the years, but certain runs, like the 2007 D penny, develop cult-like followings. They're time capsules of American craftsmanship, and their value isn't just in metal or error, it's in their narrative. And in today's market, stories sell. Here's a bit of humor to keep things light. Somewhere, there's probably someone bragging about finding Bitcoin in 2012, while another person just pulled a 2007 penny from their change and made $500,000. Who's the real genius now? As we edge closer to the end, remember this. Collectors and investors are actively seeking these coins right now. Auction houses, online marketplaces, and private sales are buzzing with activity. The 2007 D penny in pristine condition isn't just rare, it's desirable. And as more people learn about its potential, demand continues to climb. So what should you do next? Simple. Check your coins. Search your drawers, your old jars, your grandparents' collections. Don't assume anything is worthless until you've looked carefully. History has shown that the smallest treasures often hide in the most ordinary places. And here's a cliffhanger for you. There's another Lincoln penny, from a completely different year, that recently shocked the collecting world by selling for over $1.7 million. It shares an uncanny connection with the 2007 D penny, and in our next episode, we'll uncover that link and how it could lead you straight to your own hidden fortune. But for now, remember this. The difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one can sometimes be as small as a penny. 1 cent, the smallest coin in your wallet, could hold the key to financial freedom, a story of discovery, and a new chapter of abundance. So the next time you see a penny glinting on the pavement, don't walk past it. Pick it up, because that small gesture might just change everything. And if this story sparked a sense of curiosity or excitement within you, take it as a sign. The treasure hunt is real, and it starts right where you are, 1 coin at a time.
The coin I'm talking about is the 1986 Lincoln cent. At first glance, it looks no different from the billions of pennies struck in Philadelphia that year. But here's the catch. Some of these coins left the mint missing something crucial, something that seems so small, so easy to overlook, yet it transforms a penny into a life-changing fortune. That tiny detail is the mint mark, or rather, the absence of one dot. Now, before you shrug and think, big deal. Lots of pennies don't have a mint mark. Let me stop you. Because this is no ordinary oversight. This is a story of rarity, of mystery, and of collectors willing to spend unimaginable sums to capture a piece of American numismatic history. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that looks like the same copper-plated zinc cent you used to slip into a gumball machine. Yet it's worth more than a luxury car, a house, even more than most people's retirement savings. But how did this happen? How could such a simple coin be worth so much? To answer that, we need to rewind. The U.S. Mint produces coins in different facilities, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco being the main ones. To distinguish them, mint marks are added, AP for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco. By 1986, pennies made in Philadelphia were supposed to carry a small p below the date on the obverse. But in rare cases, mistakes slipped through the cracks. Some dies were struck without a mint mark at all. And those mistakes, as insignificant as they might seem, created one of the most elusive modern rarities in coin collecting. Think about it. Billions of pennies were minted in 1986. Billions, yet only a microscopic fraction are believed to have escaped without their mint mark. That's why the few verified examples command staggering prices at auction. In one reported case, a pristine 1986 no-mintmark Lincoln cent sold for a jaw-dropping $823,000. And that's not a typo. A penny worth 1 cent at face value selling for nearly $1 million. Suddenly, that jar of change on your dresser doesn't look so boring anymore, does it? Now, here's where things get even more fascinating. Coins, like people, carry scars, blemishes, and marks from their life in circulation. Most pennies are scuffed, dirty, or worn down to a dull brown. But the Holy Grail is a coin that has somehow survived in near-perfect condition, untouched by time. Collectors call these mint-state coins, graded on a scale from 1 to 70. And when a 1986 no-mint mark cent appears in high mint states, say MS65 or higher, that's when the bidding war begins. Let's pause for a second. You might be wondering, why would anyone pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for a penny? The answer is simple. Rarity plus demand equals value. Coin collectors, or numismatists, thrive on the chase. They want what others can't have. The rarer the coin, the more powerful the pull. It's the same psychology that drives someone to buy a Picasso or a rare sports card. The difference is, this treasure might be hiding in plain sight. And that's where you come in. Because right now, there is a non-zero chance that you could own one of these elusive pennies. Maybe it's in your wallet. Maybe it's in a jar you've ignored for years. Or maybe, just maybe, it's already been staring at you every time you dump your change on the counter. The idea that you could unknowingly possess a life-changing fortune is both thrilling and terrifying, isn't it? But how do you know if you've got the right coin? Here's what you need to look for. Take a 1986 penny and flip it over. Look at the date. Just below it, there should be a mint marka tiny P for Philadelphia. If that P is missing, you may be staring at something extraordinary. Of course, not every no-mintmark coin is valuable. Remember, some years Philadelphia didn't use a mint mark at all. But 1986 was supposed to, which is why the missing mark makes this coin so extraordinary. Now, here's a little secret. Condition is everything. If your coin has been rattling around in circulation for decades, scratched and dinged, its value will drop dramatically. But if it's in high-grade, bright, lustrous, and nearly flawless, that's when you might be looking at life-changing money. Think about it. A crisp penny from 1986. Saved in a collection, tucked away in a roll, could be worth more than the car sitting in your driveway. And let's not forget the emotional roller coaster this creates. Imagine the suspense of sifting through a pile of coins, heart-pounding, scanning each date and mint mark. Imagine the rush of spotting a 1986 penny, turning it over, and realizing something is missing. That tiny moment of recognition could be worth more than years of hard work. Isn't that the kind of story we all dream of? The discovery that transforms an ordinary day into a once-in-a-lifetime event. Of course, there's also the fear. The nagging thought that you might have spent one of these coins years ago, back when it was just another penny. Maybe you dropped it into a vending machine. Maybe you handed it to a cashier. Maybe you gave away a fortune without even knowing it. That's the haunting reality. Countless treasures slip through people's hands every single day. But here's the good news. It's not too late. Millions of 1986 pennies are still out there, hiding in circulation, tucked into piggy banks, sitting in jars. The question is, will you be the one to find them? Or will you let the opportunity pass you by, only to hear about someone else's discovery years from now and wonder what might have been? Now, I want you to think about the broader picture. This isn't just about money. It's about history. Each rare coin carries a story of human error, of chance, of survival. The 1986 no-mintmark Lincoln cent is a reminder that even in a system designed for perfection, mistakes happen. And those mistakes become legends. Owning such a coin is like holding a piece of that legend in your hands. It's tangible proof that lightning can strike in the unlikeliest places. And let's be honest, who doesn't? Love the thrill of a treasure hunt. Unlike lottery tickets, which vanish as soon as you scratch them, pennies last. They're durable, they're everywhere, and the cost to check is nothing. Every time you handle change, you're essentially playing a free game with life-changing stakes. Isn't that worth the effort of a quick glance? But let me offer a word of caution. If you do find what you think might be a 1986 no-mintmark cent, don't rush to spend it, don't clean it, and don't assume you can sell it on eBay tomorrow for $500,000. Coins like this need to be authenticated and graded by professional services like PCGs or NGC. That authentication is what transforms a penny from curiosity to cash. Without it, you're just holding a maybe. With it, you're holding a treasure. So here's the burning question. Is there a fortune hiding in your change? Only one way to find out. Tonight, go to that jar of coins you've been ignoring. Dig through the drawers. Search the pockets of old jeans. Look under the couch cushions. Because somewhere out there, maybe even in your home, lies a 1986 no-mintmark Lincoln cent waiting to be discovered. And if you're lucky enough to find it in mint state condition, you may have just unlocked a 6-figure, even 7-figure windfall. Think about the irony. We live in a world obsessed with digital riches, cryptocurrency, stocks, complex investments. Yet, sometimes wealth hides in the simplest, most overlooked places. A copper-colored disc smaller than a quarter. A coin we've been trained to ignore, to toss aside, to leave on the ground. And yet, for the sharp-eyed and the lucky, that penny could be a ticket to financial freedom. So, as you finish this video, remember, history doesn't just sit in museums. It jingles in our pockets. It hides in our change. And the next time you hold a penny from 1986, take a closer look. Because you may be holding far more than 1 cent too, may be holding the key to a fortune. And here's the final thought. I'll leave you with, the world's greatest discoveries rarely come with fanfare. They come quietly, in the hands of ordinary people who dared to look closer. Will you be one of them? Or will you let your fortune slip through your fingers unnoticed? The choice is yours. Imagine holding in your hand a penny so ordinary, so familiar, that you might not even glance twice at it. A simple 1-cent coin, brown with age, perhaps tucked away in a jar or rattling around in the cup holder of your car. Now imagine discovering that same penny could be worth not just a few dollars, not just a few hundred, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. In some cases, close to $1 million. That is the chilling reality of one of the most astonishing numismatic mysteries in American history. The 1988 no-mintmark Lincoln cent. This is not some myth whispered among coin collectors. This is a documented phenomenon. A seemingly ordinary 1988 penny, lacking a mint mark, has stunned experts and shocked collectors worldwide. And while most people toss pennies aside as insignificant, A handful of lucky individuals have turned their pocket change into fortunes that could pay off a house, wipe away debt, or fund a comfortable retirement. So why does this coin exist? And how on earth could something as small as a missing mint mark transform a common coin into a millionaire's dream? That's exactly the journey we're about to take. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn could change the way you see every penny in your possession. First, let's set the stage. In 1988, America was on the cusp of great change. Ronald Reagan was leaving office. George H.W. Bush was preparing to step in, and the Cold War was winding down. It was a year of transition, and it was also a year when something slipped through the cracks of the U.S. Mint. That year, pennies were being struck in two main locations: Philadelphia, which traditionally used no-mintmark, and Denver, which used the famous D. But here's where it gets fascinating. Some coins that should have displayed the P of Philadelphia simply didn't. They came out blank, anonymous, a ghost among pennies. Now, you might be thinking, what's the big deal? It's just a missing letter. But in the world of numismatics, the tiniest anomaly can transform a coin into a treasure. These no-mintmark Lincoln cents from 1988 are so rare, so elusive, that they've ignited bidding wars and set records few could have imagined. One pristine example has been reported to sell for an eye-watering $814,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. A penny, a coin worth 1 cent, selling for the price of a luxury home. Why would anyone pay such an astronomical sum? The answer lies in the perfect storm of rarity, condition, and demand. First, rarity. Only a small number of these era coins are known to exist, making them essentially modern-day unicorns. Second, condition. Coins graded in top mint state are the ones that capture headlines, because flawless survivors are unbelievably scarce. And third, demand. The allure of turning a penny into a fortune is irresistible. Not just to seasoned collectors, but to ordinary people who suddenly see hope glimmering in the change rattling in their pocket. But here's the kicker. You may already own one. And that thought alone should make your heart race just a little. Because these coins don't announce themselves with fanfare. They don't glow in the dark or sparkle like diamonds. They hide in plain sight, waiting for someone sharp enough, curious enough, or lucky enough to uncover them. Picture this. You're sorting through a jar of old coins, maybe left behind by a parent or grandparent. Most of them look the same, just dull pennies with Lincoln's solemn face. But then your eye catches something different. No P, no D, nothing at all under the date. Just a blank space where a mint mark should be. Suddenly, your hands tremble because you realize you might be holding one of the most valuable coins of the modern era. How many people have unknowingly spent one of these treasures at a gas station, slipped it into a vending machine, or tossed it on the counter with loose change? The thought is terrifying, isn't it? This is where fear meets excitement. On one hand, the idea that you might have let a fortune slip through your fingers is enough to make your stomach drop. On the other, the possibility that you still might find one fuels the imagination with electric hope. What would you do with $814,000? Pay off every bill. Secure your retirement. Maybe finally take that dream trip around the world. And here's where things get even stranger. The 1988 no-mintmark penny isn't just about the missing letter. Experts have uncovered dramatic varieties of this coin that make the hunt even more thrilling. Some of these cents feature unusual die characteristics, subtle clues that set them apart from ordinary strikes. A faint doubling here, an alignment issue there. To the untrained eye, these might look like imperfections. To the trained collector, they are golden tickets. Think about it. Millions upon millions of pennies were minted in 1988. Most are worth exactly what you'd expect, 1 cent. But among those countless billions, a tiny handful hide a secret worth hundreds of thousands. It's like a lottery ticket disguised as pocket change. The odds are slim, but unlike a lottery ticket, this one doesn't cost you anything. The coins are already out there, already in circulation, already waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for, and that someone could be you. But don't get too comfortable, because here's a revelation that might shock you. Time is running out. Every year, coins disappear from circulation. They get lost, destroyed, or tucked away into permanent collections, never to see the light of day again. The longer you wait to search, the slimmer the chances you'll stumble across one of these extraordinary cents. Imagine realizing 20 years from now that you had the opportunity, but let it slip away. That kind of regret is almost unbearable. Of course, you might be asking yourself right now, how do I know for sure if I've found the real thing? The answer is careful inspection. You'll want to look directly under the date. A genuine 1988 Philadelphia coin should carry no mint mark at all, not faint, not rubbed off, not scratched away, but completely absent because it was never struck to begin with. Magnification can help, as can comparing with other 1988 pennies side by side. And if you think you've found one, the next step is critical. Get it authenticated. Professional grading services like PCGZs or NGC specialize in confirming whether a coin is genuine. And their certification can transform an interesting curiosity into a certified fortune. No collector is going to hand you $800,000 for a coin unless it's been proven beyond doubt. That's your gateway from discovery to payday. At this point, you might be asking yourself, why haven't I heard more about this? Why isn't it on the evening news every night? The truth is, the world of rare coins often flies under the radar. It thrives in quiet corners of auctions, collector conventions, and specialized catalogs. Those who know, know. Those who don't spend their fortunes at face value. And yet, every now and then, a story breaks through. A headline about a penny selling for 6 or 7 figures shocks the public, sets social media buzzing, and sends millions of people running to their coin jars. Some call it hype. Others call it opportunity. What do you call it? This brings us to the climactic question, the question that could keep you up at night. Do you have one of these pennies right now? somewhere in your wallet, in your house, buried in a forgotten drawer. Because if you do, and if you take the time to search, you might just join the very small circle of people who struck gold without ever buying a lottery ticket or scratching a card. The 1988 no-mintmark Lincoln cent is more than a coin. It's a symbol of hidden wealth, a reminder that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. It is proof that fortunes can literally slip through our fingers if we don't pay attention. And the beauty of it all is that the opportunity is still alive, still waiting, still within your grasp. So, I'll leave you with this tonight. When you empty your pockets or glance at that jar of change, will you ignore it like you always do? Or will you look closer? Will you dismiss those pennies as worthless? Or will you see them as possible keys to a life-changing discovery? Because somewhere out there, a 1-cent coin worth $814,000 is waiting. The only question is, who will find it next? Imagine holding in your hand a single penny. Something so ordinary, so common, that most of us wouldn't think twice before tossing it into a jar, sliding it across a counter, or letting it slip between the couch cushions. But what if I told you that one particular penny, minted in 2016, could secretly be worth a fortune? What if that tiny copper-colored coin sitting in your pocket change had the power to transform your financial future? Some reports place the value of these elusive treasures at hundreds of thousands of dollars, with certain sales rumored to approach the kind of life-changing figures we associate with winning the lottery. Yes, a penny, worth as much as a mansion. Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? But stay with me, because the story you're about to hear is very real. And it might just change the way you look at every coin that passes through your hands. This is the story of the 2016 no-mintmark Lincoln cent, a coin so rare, so shrouded in mystery, that it has become one of the most electrifying discoveries in modern numismatics. Let's begin with a simple truth. Coins are never just coins. They are artifacts, miniature works of art, stamped with history and carrying the fingerprints of human error, chance, and fate. Most pennies are destined to spend their lives rattling in jars or disappearing in vending machines. But once in a while, the U.S. Mint produces something unexpected. Something flawed, or unusual, or quietly different from the billions of identical cousins surrounding it. And when that happens, collectors go wild. The 2016 penny is a prime example. At first glance, it looks like any other modern Lincoln cent. The iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the Union Shield on the reverse. But in certain cases, the mint mark, the tiny letter that tells us where the coin was struck, is missing. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. No P for Philadelphia. Just nothing. A blank space where something important should have been. And here's where the magic happens. That tiny absence transforms a 1-cent coin into a prize that can fetch staggering sums. To the untrained eye, it's just a penny. To a collector, it's a jackpot now. Why does this happen? After all, the mint is a highly controlled operation, churning out billions of coins every year with precision machinery. But history has shown us that even the most sophisticated systems can falter. Sometimes a die is prepared incorrectly. Sometimes a mint mark is accidentally omitted. And sometimes only a handful of coins escape the facility before anyone notices. Those lucky survivors enter circulation hidden in plain sight until one day, someone discovers them. Imagine the thrill of being that someone. You're counting change after buying a cup of coffee, and suddenly your fingers close around a penny that feels like every other penny except it isn't. Instead of being worth 1 cent, it could be worth $10,000 or $50,000, or, in pristine condition, even more. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Before we talk about the breathtaking market values these coins can achieve, let's take a quick detour into history. Because this isn't the first time the absence of a mint mark has sparked hysteria. Back in 1982, a famous variety of no-mintmark dimes shook the collecting world. In 1990, the Lincoln cent once again made headlines when certain proof coins were discovered without their mint marks. Each time, collectors scrambled to find examples, and prices skyrocketed. The lesson: when it comes to coins, even the smallest anomaly can become a golden opportunity. Fast forward to 2016, and the story repeats itself. The missing mint mark creates a new wave of excitement. Word spreads. Collectors begin hunting relentlessly. Stories circulate of jaw-dropping auction prices, with reports of sales reaching as high as $403,000 for pristine examples. Suddenly, ordinary Americans people, just like you, begin checking their pocket change with fresh eyes. That 1 cent coin could literally be worth a life-changing sum. Now, let's pause for a second. Have you checked your change drawer lately? That jar in the kitchen? The glove compartment in your car? How many pennies have you let slip through your fingers without a second glance? It's almost unsettling to think about. Every penny you've ever dismissed as worthless could be hiding a fortune. That's the fear. That's the excitement. And that's why collectors call these coins sleepers. They look ordinary. They circulate quietly. But when awakened, their value explodes. So, how do you know if you've found one of these rare 2016 no-mint-mark pennies? First, take a close look at the obverse of the coin, just below the date. Normally, you'd see a tiny letter designating the mint location. If it's missing, your heart should skip a beat. But don't celebrate too quickly. Counterfeits exist, and condition matters. Only coins verified by professional grading services carry the credibility needed to command top-dollar sales, and condition is everything. A coin that circulated heavily, scratched and worn, might still be worth hundreds, maybe even thousands, but the real fireworks happen with coins in mint state condition. Those flawless examples, shiny, untouched, almost frozen in time, are the ones that ignite bidding wars and climb into six-figure territory. Think about that. The difference between a pennyworth pocket change and a pennyworth a new home could come down to how carefully it was handled. Over the years, this brings us to a critical point. If you suspect you have one of these coins, Don't just toss it into a coin jar. Don't clean it, don't polish it, and don't take it to a random pawn shop. Instead, safeguard it. Research professional grading companies. Consider contacting a reputable auction house. Because the moment you verify authenticity, you move from speculation to reality, and reality, in this case, could mean life-changing money. Now here's a twist. Some experts debate just how many of these 2016 no-mint-mark pennies are truly out there. Are they extremely scarce, with only a handful in existence? Or are there still undiscovered examples waiting to be pulled from circulation? That uncertainty fuels the fire. Every trip to the grocery store, every handful of change from the gas station becomes a small adventure. Will today be the day you strike gold in copper? And let's be honest, there's something almost poetic about it. In an age when we're obsessed with digital wealth, cryptocurrency, stocks, online trading, there's a certain romance in the idea that physical money, the humble penny, could still surprise us. That a coin we overlook daily could secretly be worth more than the average American salary. So, let's return to the numbers. Some sources report verified sales in the tens of thousands. Others whisper of auctions climbing into the hundreds of thousands. And then there are the legendary stories, the ones that say, in pristine condition, under the right market frenzy, these coins have flirted with figures that make your jaw drop. Imagine a coin valued at $403,000 for a penny. 1 cent transformed into more than many people earn in a decade. Of course, not every coin will hit those heights. But the possibility is what electrifies the hunt. It's what keeps collectors searching through rolls of pennies. What motivates ordinary people to take a second look at their pocket change. Because the truth is, you never know. And that brings us to you. What will you do with this knowledge? Will you let it slip away, chalk it up as an interesting story, and go back to ignoring your spare change? Or will you take actions, start searching, start hunting? Think about it. Somewhere out there, right now, someone is about to find one. It might be a retiree rolling coins at the kitchen table. It might be a teenager counting tips after a shift. It might be you. And the difference between finding nothing and finding a small fortune is as simple as paying attention. So, here's the challenge. Tonight, go through your pennies. Pull out every 2016 you can find. Grab a magnifying glass if you need to, and when you hold that coin up to the light, focus on the date. Look just below. Is the mint mark there? Or is it missing? That tiny detail could change everything. In the end, the 2016 no-mint-mark Lincoln cent is more than just a coin. It's a reminder that value often hides in plain sight. That opportunity can appear when you least expect it. And that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest potential. So, the next time you're tempted to dismiss a penny as worthless, remember this story. Remember the possibility that in your very hand, you might be holding not just a coin, but a fortune disguised as pocket change. And remember the urgency. Because every day, as coins circulate, as collectors search, the window of opportunity narrows. The question is, Will you act before it's too late? Or will you let the chance of a lifetime slip through your fingers with the next handful of change? The hunt is real. The prize is real. And the only thing standing between you and discovery is whether you dare to look.